bringing Northwestern to its lowest point total of the season. Wisconsin knocks off the Wildcats 76-48 and advances to face Michigan tomorrow for the Big Ten Championship. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbel. Welcome back to our New York studio and the road to the Final Four. I'm joined by Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis, and I'm just wondering if you were kind of baffled at the performance or lack thereof of Northwestern, or all due credit to Wisconsin?
All due credit to the Badgers. Dominating performance because they had great energy, they executed, and they were efficient. Got it done in the paint in the first half primarily, and then knocked down threes in the second half. Made 12 of 29 threes for the game, and this guy, Nigel Hayes, was terrific. Getting to the basket, taking his time in transition. This Badger team, excellent in executing what was available. Tough shot there by Vito Brown. And Northwestern never had any rhythm, never had the requisite energy needed to beat a team that was on top of its game today. The Badgers were great.
Yeah, you knew Northwestern was in trouble when both Clark and I picked them to win. Clark wanted to pick Wisconsin. I convinced him to pick Northwestern, and it just looked like a man among boys. I mean, physically, Wisconsin beasted Northwestern, and we talked at halftime about Wisconsin getting back that identity that served them so well this time of year. Remember last year, they started off the season poorly, and they got their momentum because systemically they came together. And how about young Ethan had 8 for 11 from the foul line? He and Nigel Hayes together, 10 for 15. I've been saying their kryptonite is those two guys' poor free throw shooting. So if they're going to make some free throws, get that cheese on the free throw line, as you like to say.
And I thought defensively they were really good. Again, awesome. They didn't allow Northwestern to find any kind of comfort at the offensive end of the floor.
All right, think about who you like in the championship game tomorrow, because we'll come back to that in just a little bit. A reminder for you, coming up next, it's the Mountain West Championship game. Colorado State taking on Nevada. What are your thoughts on this one upcoming?
I'll tell you what, Nevada makes a lot of threes. They've got terrific players in Marcus Marshall and Cameron Oliver. Oliver's a unique guy. He's a big guy that can make threes, block shots, and score in the post. This Nevada team is a team that plays small ball at a high level. Can Colorado State slow them down? And the guy to keep an eye on, Gian Clavell for Colorado State for the Rams. This guy is all over the place. He's a whirling dervish with size and tenacity on the wing.
Yeah, since my predictions have been so spot on today, I do like Nevada to win this. I mean, they've been the best team in the Mountain West all season long. Clark talked about them. They play small, but they rebound big. They know how to guard rebound. They know how to gang rebound. They've been the best rebounding team in the Mountain West, leading the league in rebound margin. Colorado State is second in the league in rebound margin, but the one time that they played this year, it was in Reno, mind you, but Nevada was able to beast them on the boards, and we know no matter how big their deficit is, they were down by 15 points to New Mexico late in that game early this season, able to come back. They've got that. That mental toughness, I think, will carry them along.
And Cameron Oliver and Jordan Caroline both had double-doubles in that first meeting, to your point about their ability to play bigger than they actually are.
All right, let's take a look at the scoreboard now. This has been a big day and continues to be as far as the tournament is concerned. Earlier, first Big Ten semifinal, Michigan and Minnesota, Seth.
Yeah, it was a pretty good game. Minnesota did well to hang in there, a little bit shorthanded. Their lone senior, Akeem Springs, didn't play, but what can you say about Derek Walton? Only 29 points, 9 assists, 1 turnover. There's one of the dimes to DJ Wilson, who had 7 points, and the Wolverines have plenty of reason to celebrate. Sing along, Clark.
Yeah, the former Buckeye cringing a little bit. 84-77 was the final score. In Michigan, we have a team that clearly is hitting its stride at the right time.
They really are, and the leadership of Derek Walton Jr. has been absolutely stupendous. I mean, this kid has taken this team on his shoulders and led them effectively with his performance, but also with his grit and tenacity. Brilliant today, has been for the last few weeks. And Michigan on a mission. You know, that incident with the plane and how that shakes you, and yet sometimes when you're shaken, it forces you to really galvanize. There's a release of maybe greater joy in the game because of what transpired when their plane slid off the runway. And now you've got to focus on this championship opportunity. And as a senior, Derek Walton, Zach Irvin, I think they're zeroed in. And offensively, they make it really tough for you to guard them.
And it ought to be a really interesting face-off with the defense that Wisconsin showed.
Well, perfectly contrast in styles. Michigan wants to get out and go, free-flowing, and Wisconsin wants to do to them what they were able to do Northwestern, which is beat them inside. And, you know, I agree with Clark in terms of the reaction to this incident with the plane bringing this team together. You see just this incredible release of energy. But the fact is, as you well know, they've played really good basketball for several. This is a continuation of what they've done in the second half of the Big Ten. So everybody in America and across the world watching us, let's never again doubt John Beilein. Not even for one fraction of 1 second, because when they were playing poorly, there were a lot of lost souls in Wolverine country. And once again, he's proven himself a dynamic coach. They're tougher. They're better on the defensive end. And I think they win tomorrow.
All right, Clark. America East Championship, Vermont and Stony Brook earlier today.
It was tight in this one, tied at halftime. Here we see Kurt Steidl tying it up again for the Catamounts. And then Charles knocks it down for Albany. This was a play of the game. Peyton Henson, he had 17, a game high. 2 of them there, got the free throw. Vermont in control, but then Anthony Lamb, the freshman, an errant pass here gives Nichols for Albany a chance to tie it. No go, and Vermont holds on. First time since 2012. They will be dancing.
And Seth, we've talked about teams hitting their stride at just the right time. Longest active win streak in the country at 21 straight for Vermont.
Well, winning is a habit, and this is an experienced team. It's a highly skilled team. It's a highly efficient team. Not a great amount of size, not a great amount of speed, so they're going to be up against it in their first-round game. But I just think a team that's won every single game in the conference and came into this conference tournament, Clark, with a lot of pressure.
That's right.
To be able to hold on to it. And they were pushed to the limit today, and they responded. I like their mental toughness, and, of course, I love their skill level.
I agree with that in terms of the resilience, and that bodes well when you're going to be an underdog going against a much higher-seeded team. But the confidence they've gained through this winning streak, I think is going to serve them well. Keep an eye on those guys, the Vermont Catamounts, folks.
All right, let's go to the MEAC Championship. This one took place in Norfolk, Virginia today. Norfolk State against North Carolina Central's Eagles.
Yeah, we had 1 versus 2 here. You can see Rashawn Madison for NC Central puts them up by 4. And again, another 3. They go up by 8. And from there, it was pretty smooth sailing. DeJuan Graff going to make the layup, and then Patrick Cole to Kyle Benton. He hates rims, but you know what? He loves March, as he and his teammates are playing in the NCAA tournament. Another team used to winning, and another 1 seed winning its conference tournament, and that, I think, has been the story of this week.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have, as Dan Gavitt said earlier, the clearest bubble, the smallest pool of teams in this bubble. I think it's the most competitive bubble we've seen in a very long time.
That said, take a look at the teams that have automatic bids who are already in the tournament and tell me who's up there that surprises you.
Well, none of these teams really surprised me. When you take a look at where these teams stood, Jacksonville State might be the only one. Everybody else was at the top of the table in their respective leagues. South Dakota State, an interesting team because they've got a big guy in Mike Daum that can shoot it anytime he gets in the building. He's got that kind of deep range. But I like the Florida Gulf Coast Eagles as a team to keep an eye on and to put into your upset portfolio fund, if you will.
Clark's a very diverse investor. You know, you see Wichita State on that list, and we haven't talked about them all week because there's no suspense about whether we hear their name tomorrow. We are going to hear their name. I'll be very curious to see where the committee seeds this team, because I felt like if they had lost to Illinois State in that conference final, they still would have gotten an at-large bid. And in looking at the field right now, I'm even more confident in saying that. So that would put them right about that 8-9 line, I think, in terms of their seed, which could potentially pair them against the #1 seed in the second round. They're a tough, deep team. They lost a lot from last year, obviously, in Van Vliet and Baker, but Greg Marshall is as good as it gets in terms of recruiting and building a culture, and they're going to be very, very tough in this tournament.
All right, let's talk about the Atlantic 10 semifinal played in Pittsburgh between Richmond, Clark, and VCU.
Yeah, it was close, and actually we needed extra basketball to decide this one. Chandre Jones with the 3 there. Then Richmond, nice ball moving on the break. Quan 4 off the glass, and then Mo Alley Cox wrecked that rim on that throwdown. Sherrod nails the 3 to break a tie with 35 seconds left, and then Jaquan Lewis ties it up. And here comes Mo Alley Cox in the extra session, and it was pretty much all Rams there. So to your point, Seth, another favorite in its conference, looking to win the conference tournament.
22 seconds remaining in overtime, and VCU's lead is 10 right now at 87-77.
And that's a big-time exhale for all those bubble boys, Illinois State, Cal, Iowa, everybody out there, because Richmond is not going to get an at-large. Should they have won this tournament, they would have been a bit stealer.
Now, who will they play in the A10 championship? The other semifinal, URI against Davidson.
Well, we saw Vanderbilt play today. They took care of business this week as a bubble team, and boy, Rhode Island is doing the same. I think right about now, I know our Jerry Palm has them as his last team in the field as an at-large if they need one. Of course, they could win tomorrow and erase all doubt, but they look absolutely dominant today. A couple of bad home losses, one very good neutral court victory over Cincinnati and Mohegan Sun. That was all the way back in November. So everyone says November and December basketball doesn't matter. Rhode Island beating Cincinnati on a neutral court in November is why they are in contention for an at-large bid should they need one.
So this is the lineup that we have for you tomorrow here on CBS. It all begins at noon Eastern time with Inside College Basketball presented by Progressive Insurance. Next, Rhode Island takes on VCU for the A10 championship. That will be followed by Michigan meeting Wisconsin for the Big Ten crown. And at 5:30, the brackets are unveiled on the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show. Let's start with the Atlantic 10 game. And who do you like?
Well, the way Rhode Island has played, I mean, the momentum they have is certainly something that you can't dismiss. And the fact that if, in fact, they feel as though they might be a questionable at-large team, the motivation to stamp their ticket by winning a conference championship, I think serves them well. And they can score from a lot of positions. I like the Rams in a close ball game tomorrow.
And in the Big Ten championship game, Seth, is it too simplistic to say a red-hot offensive team in Michigan against a tough defensive team in Wisconsin?
You know, a lot of it just comes down to style. Which style is going to prevail? And normally I would say the team that likes to play slow and physical has the advantage over the team that wants to get out and go. But as we talked about earlier, Clark, Michigan can score in the half court. There are not a lot of teams in this tournament that can beat you 55-50 as well as 85-80. Michigan is so efficient in the half court. Once they fix their defensive issues, and then the final piece was Derek Walton going from a boy to a man right before our eyes these last 4 or 5 weeks. So I think Michigan's going to win the game. But once in a while, my predictions at this desk are incorrect, so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
I've got to retrace my steps there. I actually picked the Rams in that game between VCU and Rhode Island.
Oh.
They both are Rams.
That's why I agreed.
You can't be wrong for once in your life.
So I'm going URI.
I like URI, too.
More scores and highlights from the other conference tournaments when we come back. Take a deep breath. We welcome you back to the road to the Final Four, and let's get you right back to the scoreboard. The American semi, first game of the day. Clark.
Well, you see, tough play here. Ben Moore takes a foul by Chad Brown. Wrenched his back. Flagrant one was called. Shake Milton shaking it up from the perimeter. And it got chippy here. There's Taylor, B.J. Taylor. A little brush. And then contact here. Ben Moore is fouled by Matt Williams, and man, that was a soccer-type collision there. Players review. Ben Moore is called for a flagrant one as well, so a double flagrant one, but SMU moves on, and this is a team to keep an eye on, folks. This team plays small ball at a high level. Positionless paradise is what the Mustangs provide. Everybody can do a little bit of everything.
So SMU will play the winner of the other semifinal going on right now in Hartford, and that is Cincinnati against UConn. And right now the Bearcats are leading the Huskies by a score of 13-9. But I know how much you guys think of SMU, how highly you feel that the Ponies are going to go.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I'm anxious to see where they will end up being seated. They'll play the winner of this game, as we indicated. If they win the conference tournament, can they get to the 4 line? I don't know if they can or not, but wherever they fall, as long as they're healthy. I'm a little concerned about Ben Moore. His back spazzed up a little bit. He continued to play, so we'll see how that plays out. But this team is tough. They're interchangeable, and they are confident and hungry to perform on the big stage, and I think they've got a chance to get to the second weekend.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they're highly unusual. I mean, whoever plays them is going to play a team that they haven't played of this type all season long. You're talking about 5 starters. All of them are between 6'6" and 6'9", so they got no bigs and no littles. Everybody's a medium. And again, but this is another conference tournament. There was some speculation along the way. The tournament's in Hartford. Maybe UConn could go on a run, so we'll see what they can do with Cincinnati. But the idea that UConn after the season they've had with all the injuries, are going to beat Cincinnati, and then SMU is pretty unlikely to me. So it's going to be a fun one tomorrow.
All right, let's go on to the SEC now. The semifinals in Nashville. Seth, Vanderbilt and Arkansas.
Ooh, Vanderbilt played like their season is over, and Arkansas absolutely took it to him. Moses Kingsley with a delicate jump. See, he likes rims. It's just 2 points there for him. But Arkansas absolutely all over Vanderbilt on the defensive end. Vandy's a great offensive team. They only had 62 points today, shot 30% from the floor, and Arkansas beat them points in the paint, 46-16. You're going to win a lot of games when you play like that. I'll tell you what, man, those Kentucky Wildcats better be ready because the Razorbacks are coming after them.
Speaking of Kentucky, that was the other SEC semifinal. Clark and Kentucky against Alabama.
Nice segue, partner. Tied at 38 after this Jimmy Taylor throwdown for the Crimson Tide, then Malik Monk. He can put it in the basket, folks. Here he does it off the dribble. Beautiful left-hand finish high off the window, plus the foul. Then Avery Johnson Jr., the coach's son, knocks down the three, cuts the lead to 4 for the Wildcats. De'Aaron Fox went for a career-high 28. And, man, is he quick. Quick as greasing a skillet popping. De'Aaron Fox leading Kentucky to the championship game tomorrow.
What is quick about grease in a skillet? All right, 79-74 was the final. Ivy League semifinals, some good basketball here. Yale and Harvard set.
Yeah, the game. You're going to see Siani Chambers alley-oop to Zeno Odaswan for the slam. For Yale, Alex Copeland makes the layup as well. Of course, it's the first time the Ivy League has ever had a conference tournament. I think it's a great event in the perfect format. Top 4 teams go. We're in the Palestra. Yale with the three-pointer there as well. And hanging on, who gets the winner of the other semi?
The other semi.
Won't give it away yet.
Clark, Penn, and Princeton.
Man, this was Penn led the entire time in regulation. As a matter of fact, this basket here ties it up and forces overtime. Miles Stevens. Penn led the whole in regulation. Princeton never led in regulation and never trailed in the extra session. And Miles Stevens was doing work in that extra session. There's Amir Bell on the drive, and all Princeton, and the winning streak continues. I think it's now 18 straight for the Tigers.
The Tigers moved to 22-6 on the season in overtime, 72-64. To the Sun Belt semifinals now, Seth, down in New Orleans, Texas State and UT Arlington.
Yeah, this is a tough one, Greg, because Texas Arlington had a fantastic regular season, a couple of very impressive non-conference wins, including winning at St. Mary's by 14, but had a key injury in this tournament and unfortunately got the short end of the stick today. Bobby Conley for Texas State knocking down the three-pointer there, and another one from that left corner. And Texas State and not UTA going to advance to the final. And the season will end for the Mavericks 25-8. Great job. It came
NIT.
Absolutely.
Won the conference regular season title.
83-62, the final. In the other semi, Clark, Troy and Georgia State.
Yeah, this was a good one, although Georgia State got out to a quick lead, plus 10 after that three from Isaiah Williams. Then Jordan Venardo with the block. And then at the other end of the floor, throws it down. Wesley Person, pull-up three. I'll have all of them. And how about Wesley Person again? This time 3 or 4 feet behind that arc. And the Trojans advance to the Sun Belt Conference Championship game, and they will see the Bobcats, Greg.
Wesley Person, 16 points on the day, 74-63. The Trojans win it by over Georgia State. Meanwhile, a Big East championship game going on right now at Madison Square Garden, coming up on 11.5 to play in the first half. And Creighton and Villanova are tied at 9 apiece. And although Creighton, not one of the highly ranked teams, but they look pretty good this week.
You know what? When they lost Maurice Watson to the season-ending knee injury, it changed the dynamic of the team. That team was playing at a high-octane level offensively. Obviously, not a lot of scoring going on. Just down the road, 18 points in a combined between the two teams in 9 minutes. But Villanova has been really rock solid all season long. And I think if they win this, I think they lock themselves into that overall #1 seed, Seth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Kansas having lost to TCU. And, you know, the good thing about Villanova is they're getting healthy again. They have been missing Darrell Reynolds for a while, who's really their only serviceable big man, closest thing they have to a post player. And then their glue guy, Mikal Bridges, was also hurt, and he's now back healthy as well. And they got that championship swagger. Yeah. They're guards. Everyone says, well, they don't have a big man. Well, who does? There are no great big men in college basketball. If you've got veteran guards that know how to win, and I also want to say that they don't have Ryan Arcidiacono from last year's championship team, but in a lot of ways, Jalen Brunson, even though Josh Hart's a National Player of the Year candidate, Brunson's been their best player the last month.
He's been really good.
All right,
there's a big guy in college basketball, Karnowski, out at Gonzaga.
Big Shem.
Yeah.
Big Shem. With the big
Coming up next here on CBS is the Mountain West Championship. That's Colorado State and Nevada. What do you think about this game?
Well, I think Nevada pulls it out again because they've got a number of ways they can hurt you on the perimeter, and they play big enough inside to deal with Colorado State in the paint.
Yeah, they got a couple of great dynamic scores led by Cameron Oliver. Had 29 points and 17 rebounds in the first meeting. And like I said, Nevada has been the best team in the regular season all season. You know, they would be an interesting look-see as far as getting an at-large bid, but I don't think they got enough juice in the box, if you will. And I think that the loser will not be in the tournament and the winner gets the auto bid. So obviously there's a lot on the line.
You know, all week long we've been talking about how important the guards are going to be in this tournament once we hit it this week. And that seems to coincide with the fact of lack of big men.
Oh, yeah. The game has become more of a small ball game, and you think about what Nevada presents with Marcus Marshall. We'll see evidence of that, and we've seen it all season long with a number of the teams we're going to see in the field of 68.
And he mentioned Karnowski, by the way. We'll get into this tomorrow. I love Gonzaga. I think they can get to the Final Four. Yep. Not because he's the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal, but because there basically aren't any other players like him in college basketball.
All right, guys, that's coming up next, the Mountain West Conference Championship. Rams and Wolfpack for a trip to the NCAA tournament. We'll see you back here at halftime. Enjoy.
This is day one for the future of the NFL. The 2017 NFL Draft starts April 27th on NFL Network.